unity and all the wonderful things you've been blessed to do in music?
Well, certainly I've had been blessed to have some wonderful, wonderful opportunities in my growth as a musician and my development as a musician.
Yeah.
I started out as playing for the Sunday school at the Church of Our Father, and then I was able to uh, uh, have the privilege of playing for the young people's choir at the St. James Baptist Church uh, many years ago when St. James was on the corner of Madison, and I think it was Madison and Ripel. It was on the east side of Detroit.
Uh-huh.
I was under the direction of Mrs. Mrs. Smith and Mildred Smith, and then I was able to have an opportunity to serve with the late Mrs. Elma Lois Hendricks Parham,
That's right.
who was the proprietor of the Elma and Carl's Music Store, and she had a community choir of young people, which she took across the country
Yeah,
to
right.
sing, and I was able to share with them for many years, and we were able to record a number of the selections that I and my brother had composed. We recorded "How Big Is God," "You've
Right.
Been Truly Wondrously Blessed," which I think are some of the more notable songs. We did a medley of "Love Lifted Me," and I was just fortunate to be able to travel with Elma during that period. It was quite a learning experience because we sang with a lot of churches and a lot of places throughout the city, and I was able to make a lot of friends and exchange a lot of information with a lot of people. Moved on from there. I served at the New Light Baptist Church under the direction of the late Mrs. Emma Moody.
Mm-hmm.
She was the directress of the choral choir,
Right.
and I worked there with her. And I've just had a lot of growing experiences, which I think has I saw leadership and which gave me insight. And then, of course, I was part of the organization of the Gospel Music Workshop of America when they first organized here in the city of Detroit. As a matter of fact, they're going to be celebrating their 50th year in existence. I think it's in 2017, and I was a
Yeah.
part of the opening of the Gospel Music Workshop of America, which was founded by the late Reverend James Cleveland, and that was certainly a learning experience. The Gospel Music Workshop of America, in its inception, all roads led to the Gospel Music Workshop of America, and every year they were in a different city, and you saw singing groups, choirs, large choirs, small choirs, soloists from all across the country, and it certainly was a uplifting and rewarding learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've been at the Unity Baptist Church for this is my 57th year.
57.
It's been a wonderful experience.
Yes.
I've had some wonderful opportunities since being at Unity. We were able to present concerts at Ford Auditoriums. We were able to travel abroad, and so it's just been
Yeah.
a broad range of learning experiences, and I think I attribute all of them to what the knowledge that I have attained and the people I have met, and the Lord has really blessed me, and I thank and praise God for every day of living and all of the learning experiences that I've had. It's been truly a blessing. And then, of course, my brother Ernest Needham, who wrote "You've Been Truly Wondrously Blessed," which has been sung by choirs and organizations across the country, and the little tune that I was able to write, the Lord gave me, "When You Want to Talk to Jesus." I penned that a number of years ago. So
well, listen, Dr. Needham, I'm telling you, that's why I was telling the audience, it's difficult.
An amazing journey to develop friends with musicians. I think that God has endowed all of us with gifts, and to be able to interact and learn from each other.
Yeah,
I consider that a very rewarding experience.
Well, I want to thank you. Listen, I knew it wouldn't be enough time to say all, and that you left a whole lot out, I'm sure. Listen,
well,
listen, tell us.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk about the Congress musicals.
Yeah.
In 1993, I assisted Reverend Edgar L. Van. In 2003, the late Brother Jimmy Dowell and myself and you and others, we worked with the Congress.
Yeah.
In 2005, I was able to work with the late Robert L. Nix, who was in charge of the Progressive Baptist Convention. In 2007, you and I worked with the NAACP convention.
Right.
In 2009, again, we worked with the National Congress. And then in 2015, just this year, we were again involved with the National Baptist Congress of Christian Education. And we had a wonderful presentation. It certainly was sharing with many of the younger musicians who are coming and who are extremely talented and extremely gifted, and who the Lord has endowed with many wonderful talents. And to be able to be a part of that, I consider it just a real blessing. And
well, listen, Dr. Needham,
to share the responsibilities of pulling this event together. Again, we were able. The Lord blessed us. We had 360 some choir members, and we had wonderful rehearsals and spirit-filled rehearsals, and it was also motivating and stimulating.
Yeah.
Again, a learning experience, because we learn from each other, and I think that's the thing that everybody has to really understand. That we learn. Life is a learning experience, and we learn every day. We learn, and we have to be open and receptive to learn and to appreciate the gifts and talents of people who the Lord has gifted. And so
well, that made it so well-rounded because of the genre of music and the different styles of music, the different writers, the originality that came forth was certainly a blessing. And certainly the choir themselves, we got to give it to those singers. They were awesome. They were excited.
Yes.
They were enthusiastic, and they gave everything they had.
Consistent and committed.
Right.
And they came to rehearsal, and they were excited about learning all of the music, all the different genres of music. They manifested the same enthusiasm. They learned the anthem as well as all of the gospel pieces with the same level of excitement and commitment.
Well, listen, now you know we're going to be gathering again, and we give this shout-out to the choir. We're going to be meeting this coming Sunday. We want everybody to know that that Michigan Baptist Fellowship Choir will be featured again this coming Sunday night at 5 p.m. at the Galilee Missionary Baptist Church for the BMNE State Convention under the leadership of Dr. Tillis Chapman. And
And we're
we want to
looking forward.
invite everybody. All roads are going to lead to 5251 East Outer Drive at 5 p.m. this coming Sunday night. And this great mass choir is going to be featured again. So we're looking forward to that. Now, Dr. Needham, I want you to tell us a little bit about, you so graciously have been a part of the foundation of the Fellowship of Music and Arts, and we're getting ready to have our program, the very first real mass musical type program, on August the 30th, which is the fifth Sunday at the Bethel AME Church. I want you to just kind of give a little bit of what we're trying to do so you can invite all of the music community to come and share with us starting on the 21st, which is our first rehearsal.
Well, the Fellowship of Music and Arts, we're endeavoring to reach not only the singers but the musicians. We're endeavoring to reach to bring a greater understanding between the pulpit and the choir loft. We're going to have seminars. We're going to have seminars on writing, how to publish music, how to get the music published, how to get it scored, how to get the music into the public. And so we're trying to embrace all the aspects of gospel music and what it entails to be a part of it. So we want singers, we want musicians to come and participate and learn from the other musicians, and to be able to embrace the different musical styles and genres. And the fellowship is going to be a vehicle by which we're going to offer those kind of opportunities, and for musicians as well as singers. We want to also develop the singers, because singers need to learn to understand their vocal range and what to do, how to do it, and what not to do. And so we're going to embrace all of that, and our board members and committee members are committed to making this happen. And under your leadership and under your direction, I think we're moving in the right direction, and I think that we will have a lot to offer for all of the people who take the time to partake and get involved with the Music and Arts Fellowship.
Yeah, we're going to present a menu of things that I feel at this stage in history, I mean, just in the life of the church, there is such a need for the proper education when it comes to the music ministry in our churches, to understand. I mean, everybody's talking about the different waves, the different fads, and all of this, even down to the dress and down to. And I tell people all the time, and I get in hot water with a lot of this new generation, because I tell people this: I see you before I hear you, and I'd rather hear you even though I see you. But it depends on what you dress like, what you look like. That can distract. And I understand today why our leaders in years past were so hard on us about decorum, about presentation, about dress codes, and all of the like, even down from your hair to your jewelry, down to your clothing and the types of clothing you wear, especially in the worship service. If we're going to look like the world, we might as well be in the world. And the world has subtly creeped into the church. I want you, because those of us, I got a little age on me. I thank God I was born at a time where I got the best of both worlds, that old and the new.
Absolutely.
And but I want you to touch on this, because I get a lot of calls, as I know you do, from pastors looking for musicians, even nowadays today, who don't know hymns, and they can't keep good musicians because they're not well-rounded, and we need to talk to that. Would you speak just a little bit on that, even down to the decorum of the choir, the music selection, and even uniformity?
Well, yeah, the whole concept and idea behind the choir being robed was to so that the choir would not be a distraction from the word, the spoken word. And so years ago, choirs and groups all wore robes. Robes was the order of the day at that time, simply so there could be continuity, so there would be uniformity, so that there would not be a distraction from the message that was being presented in song. And decorum is very important. Somehow it seems seemingly we've gotten away from that, but it's a very important aspect and element in the presentation of gospel music. And but not only in gospel music, but all in other genres of music. You'll notice concert artists always have an appearance of how they present their music, and so it's very important for the church, and it's very important in the Christian world that there needs to be some continuity. Also, with regards to decorum, our actions and our behaviors should be in keeping with what we're trying to do and what we're trying to do, because we're trying to present Christ, and we're through the not only through the spoken word, but through the word and song. And so we want to present and acquaint and we want people to become familiar with the Lord Jesus Christ, and we want to do it in the best way and the most acceptable way possible.
Right. And here is one of the fundamental problems that I seem to have, and sometimes they term, depending on who you are and how long you've been out there, they term you as old school or whatever. But that old school is good school, and I keep trying to tell these new guys, and even in our churches, even some of the new pastors, younger pastors, they have, for whatever reason, they have allowed musicians to start with. Let's talk about the musicians. They when I was growing up, my grandfather insisted that I come properly dressed to church, even though I was the musician, and even though my brother played the drums. That did not excuse us from being properly dressed. And I think what has happened, even from the musicians, they come in oversized shirts and jeans and Timberlands and all this other kind of stuff. To me, I mean, I'm just haven't got with it yet. Maybe I'm old school and old fogey, but haven't got with it yet. And even choirs, I tell even our choir, listen, even though we might wear skirts and blouses or suits and ties, whatever the day is, the order of the day is, it still ought to be presentable. It still ought not to be so outrageous with the glitter and the glam and the fit. And that's a distraction I don't think that folk are thinking about when they come to worship. You want to enjoy a good worship song. You want to enjoy the choir. But if you so engaged and looking at them, you really won't hear them, because you're looking at what they got on and what this different color hair now. Everybody's doing what the world is doing. And then another thing is, I saw some of the saints, Dr. Needham, they getting into this piercing and they getting into these tattoos. I don't understand it, but I just can't see it. They're tattooing everywhere and they're piercing everything.
Yes, and and I agree with you 2,000%, Bishop. I think that some of the things that we see in in secular society we should not be embracing in as part of our worship and in our sacred society. I think again that the years ago there was a preparation for worship.
Yeah.
And I know that things have changed, but years ago we prepared ourselves for Sunday worship. We laid out our Sunday clothes. That was the preparation because we were going to worship in anticipation of going to church to meet the Lord, to hear what the Lord had said was going to tell us, to hear something in song, and we had an anticipation and an expectation that we were going to feel differently and be different individuals after we left the worship experience.
Oh yeah, and sometimes I've stopped beating up myself because I said I was going to do something about it, and that's why we got the fellowship to help teach and train, because everybody don't want to look at your new hairdo. Everybody don't come to church to watch you model and parade your latest outfit. You're supposed to be a worshiper, a Levite, singing in the choir to present the Lord's song or the Lord's word through song in preparation for the spoken word. Absolutely. We're supposed to till the ground and prepare and inspire and prepare the congregation through the singing that we do. But if we look like the world and then in some cases sound like the world, then God can't get any glory out of that. And that's one of the things that I know that we have to lift the standard. And I don't know, sometimes I think I say, did we drop the ball or what happened with this transition and started this thing where folk just think they can just come to church any kind of way? And I think they've taken it too far, because when we talk about come as you are, we're really speaking about your life. We're really not talking about how you look. And I know sometimes people say, well, people are wearing what all they got. No, these folk I'm talking about are going out buying these dyed jeans, paying hundreds of dollars for some of this stuff, and for gym shoes or tennis or however they used to call them. They're buying all of this new stuff. It's being made. It's a fashion statement that the world has made that they've allowed to subtly creep into the church.
Yes. And I think that sometimes in the church's pursuit to be competitive, they've lowered the standard.
Yeah.
Because it's being done in one area, they think it's acceptable to be done in another area, and I think that has not been in the best interest of the church, as you indicated, because sometimes it seems that it has gone to the complete extreme.
The complete extreme, and now I think it has really gotten out of hand. Again, I think that again we need to revert back to the preparation, the psychological preparation. I'm going to church on Sunday. I'm preparing so that I can anticipate and expect to feel differently, to be made, to be improved. My life, my burdens can be lifted. Yeah.
When I attend worship on Sunday morning, and I think again, and I reiterate that as you have indicated, I think that it's gone too far. Somehow it's got to be brought back into what it's really about. And you, as you indicated, is come as you are. We're talking about your life. We're not talking about your dress.
Yeah, we're talking about your life is torn in shreds or whatever.
Who you are.
Yeah.
And then because he makes the changes.
He makes the changes.
He can make the modifications. Yeah. He can make the adjustments.
Yeah.
The dress thing is just, I think it's just gotten way out of hand.
People come to church. Some
we
people
address that. I
think
that at some point is going to have to be turned. That's got to be turned around.
Yeah, and I hear it a lot of times because as I try to do evangelism, I'm at the car wash talking to my boys at the barber shop or whatever, try inviting those guys and ladies to church, and I've had some of them to come, and the first thing they call me and say, well, Woods, man, I saw so-and-so, this one, that one, and some of them look like they was dressed for the club. And I go to the club, I see, tight skirts and tight dresses and pants and all of this kind of stuff, bosom showing and cleavage showing and all that, I mean, man, I thought I was at church, and I'm saying to these brothers, well, yeah, Doc, you at church. But I think I don't know how we can make a difference even at this date. It's so far gone to the extreme, as you said, and that's one of the reasons why we're planning to have a pastors and musicians type panel. We want to talk about these issues and see, where did we drop the ball? Is it because we don't teach like we used to? Is it because we've let down the standard? And I hear folks saying, well, you got to win the young folk. Well, I was young. I haven't always been the age I am. I was a teenager, a little bad boy running around church and going to school, getting in trouble and all kind of stuff. Listen, my mama made me sit down at church. My mama made me iron on Saturday night, get my stuff ready for church on Sunday. We had to wear our robes or whatever the uniform called for. We were disciplined at the church by the church mothers. We don't have them purity classes no more. We don't have that BTU like we used to. There's a whole lot of stuff we don't stop having that will teach the young people. The Bible say train up a child. These kids are getting it from the adults. We got mothers trying to be sisters to their daughters. We got fathers trying to be brothers to their sons, and we got babies raising babies. And then we got leadership that has, for whatever reason, have been so imbalanced that they're afraid to talk about certain things, scared they're gonna lose. They're looking for numbers. And instead of quality, they kind of get quantity. And I'm afraid that if we don't do something as far as our teaching and getting back to the fundamentals of what a Christian is supposed to be and what we're supposed to represent, how we're supposed to approach the world, because you can't win the world looking like the world, talking like the world, being like the world. We're supposed to be the ecclesia, the called out. And if we've been called out and separated, then I don't want to start preaching, but I feel it. If we don't do some separating and some show and tell signs that we are different, folk gonna come and go to hell from church.
Absolutely. And back to your point, because I've got even when I was a little boy, I got a number of, and I can remember my grandmother who was in the choir, and if we acted up in church or at choir rehearsal, she would come out of the choir stand.
Oh man!
And to get us and make sure that we were behaving properly. And jokingly, I can tell you that I got probably a number of beatings at church, because when my grandma saw that we were not acting properly, she made sure that was not prolonged.
Yeah. Well, let's hit this point right quick. Well, we got a few minutes. Let's hit this point. You said preparation, and I think that comes, first of all, in order for a choir or ministry of music at a church to be prepared, whoever their leader is got to be well-rounded and prepared. And I think what's happening, a lot of these church choirs are being led by novice and by people who, first of all, need to be trained themselves, not only from a uniform standpoint, also from a musical standpoint. They don't know how to properly select music. They don't know how to properly prepare for a rehearsal and to go into a rehearsal and teach and give specific orders of discipline and decorum, and it's just a mess.
Yeah, well, the lack of preparation, and of course, again, there has been a significant diminishing of of the quality and trained musicians in our churches. It's been reflected over and over and over again. I think that what we need to do is again, and I think the churches and that's why we really need this ministers and musicians, because ministers need to understand that while they are preparing themselves for the word, the ministers, the musicians need to be preparing themselves for the music ministry,
right?
And that means that they should have an understanding and some knowledge about the hymns. There are hundreds of hymns in our hymn books, and many of them are never sung because the church is not exposed to the unfamiliar hymns,
right,
which are good hymns. There are books which have been written and published about hymn stories and the story behind the creation and the writing of the hymn.
Right.
And so the musicians need to be prepared. They need to maintain themselves and try to keep their skills updated, and they need to attend workshops and seminars.
Right,
and,
right. That's what we do.
Events which will heighten and give them more knowledge and more insight into the jobs that they have as worship leaders in the church. I mean, you just can't sit alone and let the world pass you by. And so, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and so it's important that the musicians build upon not only their strengths but their weaknesses. Do endeavor to do something that they have not. They don't usually do. We don't have musicals where we can learn from each other in musical programs like we used to have years ago, and there was an exchange, whether you realize it or not. When in the early days when we had a lot of musical programs, there was an exchange. It was a learning experience, because not only could the musicians see how things were done when choirs sang well, not only did the musicians see that, the choir members themselves could see what was happening, and also there would be a motivation for them to go back and dig in a little deeper and dig in a little harder, to try to learn a little more, to become better instruments of presenting the word in song.
Right. And I tell musicians all the time.
That's what we've got to get back to, and I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take it.
Yeah.
And it's so many things that we have to undertake, and we're going to try to address as many of them as we possibly can. Right. With the Arts and Music Fellowship.
Well, one of the things I know,
invite young musicians to come out, because as a young musician, when you're just starting out, you need to have you need to have some role models. You need to have some examples. Yeah. And you come and learn from the folks who have been on the path, who are older and you've had more experience. I cherish the opportunities that I've had with the late Mrs. Mildred Smith, the late Emma Moody, the late Elma Lois Hendricks Parham. I sat and watched the Harold Smith Majestics and almost all of their performances during their livelihood. All of the organizations that have gone before us was a learning experience, and we cannot negate the fact that we learn from each other.
Right.
And it's important. They tell us that in the computer world that the technology is ever changing, and if you get a master's degree or a doctorate degree in information technology, in 2 years you need to go back and revisit because the technology would have changed, and so you need to update your skills.
Yeah.
And
Well, we know in music you never stop learning. There's always something to learn. There's new music out. There's different phases of music. There are different styles of music, even in the gospel arena. You know, unfortunately, the world have divided us when we talk about inspirational gospel, contemporary gospel, traditional gospel, rock gospel. You got all hip-hop gospel. You got everything out there now. But the fortunate thing, and thank God for yourself, musicians like yourself and others who have dedicated themselves to teaching and training. And to all of you listening, that's what we want to invite you to be with us. Come and share with us. Now, the Fellowship of Music and Arts. Don't forget, Friday, August the 21st, 7 p.m., we're going to be at the Bethel AME Church. That's 5050 St. Antoine, right there at East Warren, St. Antoine Street, the corner, St. Antoine and East Warren. We're going to be there at 7 p.m. on the 21st and as well as on the 28th. And then on August the 30th, that's a Sunday, 5 p.m., we'll be there in a great musical program. We're going to give you more information on that. We're going to have our other guests on that's going to be sharing with us musically. But we want you to remember all of our fellowship members of the Baptist Fellowship, Mass Choir, Michigan Baptist Fellowship, this coming Sunday. Don't forget, we're going to be at the Galilee Missionary Baptist Church at 5 p.m. in a great musical celebration for the BM&E State Convention. 5 p.m., 5251 East Outer Drive. Our pastor is Reverend Dr. Tillis J. Chapman, and this is his last year. He'll be giving his annual address on next Thursday, and we want all of our friends to come and be a part. Well, Dr. Needham, we thank you for your time and sharing with us. It's been so enlightening, and I want you to just give a word to our young musicians that might be listening on, especially those who are ministers of music and musicians at churches, just some good old Dr. Needham advice.
Well, I think that my advice is to learn all you can, and learn what to do as well as what not to do. And I think that young musicians who are embracing jobs in churches and who are working in the field of sacred music need to try to learn as much about sacred music as they possibly can, from the hymns, the anthems, the spirituals, all of that. You need to have that under your belts, as the saying goes, so that you can be more empowered to do a much better job, more and better job in the vineyards in your areas where you're serving, so that God will be glorified and the people will be edified and lifted, and your work will go on in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Oh, I can't say it better. Thank you, Dr. Needham, and certainly this is the Gospel Connection with Bishop Andre Woods. We'll be talking with you, Doctor. Thank you for calling in and sharing with us.
You're welcome. Thank you. Be blessed.
All right. Well, that was Dr. Dorgham Needham. He is the minister of music of the Unity Baptist Church here in the city of Detroit. And certainly we thank him for his expertise and all of his wisdom and his knowledge that he has shared with us today. Listen, I want to advise you again that that's the Fellowship of Music and Arts. We are a dedicated aggregation of musicians, and our board members include Dr. Stanley Walden, Dr. Greg Pearson, Reverend Gregory Troy, Gregory Eberhardt, Dr. Jeannie Connor Fontanet, Miss Jean Hodge, Elder Herman Harris, Pastor Rudolph Stanfield, Gregory Pearson, Attorney Sidney McBride. Listen, we have a well-rounded board of people who are dedicated themselves to come together. And certainly we are happy we have Pastor Christopher Hale on board with us. And certainly we thank God for all of these great musicians and directors who have been so well-rounded and gifted and talented and have made an impact on gospel music, not only throughout the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, but around the country and even the world. We praise God for them coming together. And we've gathered together, and what we're trying to do is bring a program that's well-rounded for even the general public, for those of you who enjoy good, wholesome gospel music, and those of you who are aspiring musicians, songwriters, and even to new artists. We're working on a platform for those singers, artists who are now getting out there and getting into the music industry. We're going to be teaching about the business of music, period. The business side of music, whether it's R&B, gospel, jazz, or whatever, the business side is the same. And we're going to be educating on copywriting, composition, what a songwriter needs to do to protect him or herself from those that are out there who will pirate your song and steal your material to get you protected, and how to read contracts when it comes to writers' agreements with record companies, and all of the whole 9 yards, to learn production and how all of that, the ins and outs goes. So it's a side of music business that artists, musicians, songwriters need to know about. And we praise God for the expertise on our team that's able to share all of this information. But we want you to come. If you love to sing gospel music, mark your calendars for Friday, August the 21st, 7 p.m., and we're going to be at the Bethel AME Church, 5050 St. Antoine, right there right off of East Warren in the city of Detroit, and all are welcome to come. If you want further information, certainly you go to our Facebook page and affiliate and join up with us and say, I want to be a part of the Fellowship of Music and Arts, or you can call me at 313-523-0772 for further information, 523-0772. I'll be happy to share with you and give you all of the information that is needed so that you can be a part of what we're doing musically. It's a coming together. We're kind of become one voice to sing the Lord's song, to give him glory, to give him honor, to give him praise. And for those of you listening, we certainly bless you today for taking the time out to listen and tune in to the Gospel Connection. And we're happy to be here with you every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. And certainly we pray that this broadcast today has been informational and have served to give you something to think about, so that those of you, especially in music, you can think about bettering yourself, making better preparations to present the very best of God. If God would be so gracious and so kind to give us his best, I think we owe it to him to give him our best. And preparation, there's nothing like preparation. Preparation precedes the blessing. Whenever you're prepared, you can go in with confidence and do a job. God will take what you present to him, and he will bless it as long as your effort is earnest and honest and you give him the very best you have. It has been my joy and my privilege to share with you today, and I want you to call a neighbor and call a friend. Let them know we're here every week at the 10 a.m. hour for the Gospel Connection. Now, those that might have missed this program, you can catch us later. You can just go to the website. That's worshipcenterradio.net, and then scroll to the Gospel Connection and then click on, and you can get us there later, or go to YouTube. We'll be there later on. God bless you. Today is my prayer. And certainly to all of you who love gospel music, I love you. And don't forget, we'll be here next week at the same time. God bless you is my prayer.